I'm Josh Keegan, and welcome to Igniting the Space Down Under. Happy Australia Day to everyone who happens to be celebrating on this day. I know there's may not be some people who are celebrating on this day, and my serious condolences to you people. So Australia Day is special this year because Igniting the Space Down Under, we're crossing over live to Mars. Well, not Mars, but the Mars Desert Research Station in Utah in the United States. I will be speaking with fellow Australian Andrew Wheeler, the commander of Expedition Crew 291. Commander Wheeler is the senior geologist in surveying and engineering consultancy, supervising exploratory drilling programs. Andrew has a Bachelor of Applied Science in Applied Geology at QIT, postgraduate diploma in Earth Science and Education at UQ, the University of Queensland, and collaborates in research into Martian geology. And as I found out yesterday, he is a fellow Queenslander like myself, and is only down the road from where I live in the city of Ipswich. Welcome, Andrew. Thank you very much for joining me on this live stream on Australia Day.
Thank you. Good morning and good evening here in Utah on Mars, but good morning there and happy Australia Day to everyone.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, just a quick reminder for everyone. There will be a question and answer session where you'll be able to ask questions and also chat with others as your opportunity to win some merchandise. And Commander Wheeler will be selecting the winner. So out of all of those interesting questions that you managed to ask, I've asked Andrew if he could possibly select the winner out of that. So it doesn't really, there's no criteria on that at all. It's just whatever Commander Wheeler decides, which is an interesting question, a head scratcher, most technical, or anything of the above. All right, let's get tucked right into the questions. All right, why Mars?
Well, a number of people think that Mars has life on it and that life was on Mars and that it is a likely place for us to extend the human species from Earth to Mars, and we could live and survive and prosper on Mars, so that's why we want to go to Mars.
Okay then, so whoa, wrong screen. This is live. I probably shouldn't have put those two buttons together. All right, so you can always tell this is live because of the amount of mistakes that the host will make at any one particular point in time. All right, so what events actually led you to become the commander of the 291 expedition?
Well, my exploration experience, where I've worked in remote locations as a participant, sometimes as the leader of the exploration crew, into remote areas in Australia, in Africa, in Asia. I've done some work in Mongolia. That kind of experience in remote areas, the logistics of keeping those camps running, the means to keep people happy and keep working without sort of falling into depressions and things like that. That experience became something that the Mars Society thought was important, that I could share and help to educate the next lot of people who are excited about going to Mars.
Oh, okay. All right. So is this your first time commanding an expedition crew, or have you done this sort of stuff previously?
I have. In 2019, I was a participant. I was the scientist in a previous expedition here to MDRS in Utah. That was Crew 214, and then I was the commander of the follow-on crew from that 215. And recently, in August of last year, I commanded a small crew to the Flashline Mars Research Facility on Devon Island in the Canadian Arctic Archipelago. That was July and August of this year. And now I'm following up from that here to MDRS in Utah with another crew, 291.
Okay, so who makes up your crew of 291? What do particular people actually, want to do this sort of thing, go all the way out to the Mars Desert Research Station to spend, how long do you spend there is the first question, I suppose. Then who is the makeup of who goes along to these sorts of things?
Okay, so the MDRS facility is usually for a 2-week rotation where you have one crew from somewhere else. The previous crew was from the United States. This one is from Australia. The follow-on crew is a combined Australian-Indian crew. And we're here for about 2 weeks at a time. The people who come here are mostly excited about going to Mars, and they want to test their geological knowledge, their engineering abilities, and then there are the people who want to observe the scientists and the engineers in their work and study how they interact with each other, how they interact with the isolation, and how they perform in a confined space, and how.
Right. So if someone is watching this right now, and they are inspired to do something like this, what do you recommend that they could do to join you guys? Is there such a thing as a civilian crew at all?
Well, this is all civilian crew, and pretty well 90% of the crews that come here are civilian crews. For people to take to Mars. So all of that variety of people have made themselves available to join crews to come to MDRS over the years. So if somebody is interested in coming here, the first thing would be study sciences, particularly geology. But if that's too exciting for you, then become a biologist or an engineer. So
it's the endless battle, isn't it? For
it is.
Day,
Yes, it is.
Geology is considered on the same lines as accounting. They're very boring. I think it's exciting, geology, personally. Accounting, not so much. But I find geology very, very exciting. So the other question I have here as well is, you mentioned there's a mention of MDRS. What is that exactly?
Yes, it's actually the Flashline Mars Arctic Research Facility. So it was the first analog habitat that was constructed. It was constructed in 1999 on Devon Island in the Canadian Arctic archipelago, which is about 900 miles or 1,600 kilometers south of the North Pole. So it's above the Arctic Circle, and during the summer months, it experiences the 24 hours of sunlight. It's been set up on the rim of an impact crater. That's called the Houghton crater, and the geology that's there is extremely similar to Martian geology that would be experienced near some of the impact craters on Mars. There's very little vegetation there. It's quite cold, and it's quite dry, and it's the rocks that form from an impact are almost identical to what has been observed from orbit on Mars. So that's the appeal of the Flashline Mars Arctic Research Station. And it's cold and dry. And here in Utah, it's dusty and cold. So Mars is cold and dusty and dry. So with these two analog habitats, then we get all of the conditions that we see on Mars in two different locations.
Wow. So that means we'd be ultra prepared for when we actually get to Mars, because that's the entire.
Exactly. And that was the reason that the analog stations were set up, so that people could prepare going there and trial techniques and trial equipment and trial personal relationships, because it's a very long time to get to Mars. And when you're there, it's a very long time that you're there before you can come back again.
Yeah, so self-sustainability, it's not like you can pop down to the local shops to get any replacement items or anything like that. You were explaining that to me yesterday when we were doing a bit of a test, that so some of your equipment that you took along with you wasn't exactly working properly. Just speaking of which, really off-the-cuff question that has nothing to do with the list of questions I sent you, because I do this. So how's that item going, by the way? Is it up and working? Did you manage to get it running?
No, it's not. I've been troubleshooting it, and it's the advice I'm getting is to pull the whole thing apart and take out the SIM cards and put it all back together again and see how that goes.
So yes, this is actually a really good simulation of exactly what it would be like on Mars. Yes,
precisely, and that's one of the reasons why we bought this particular piece of equipment along, was to see how it travelled and whether it actually survived the travel, which it almost did. There was a small catch on the side of it that was snapped off during baggage handling, and one of the second battery pack, it had been sort of warped a bit, and one of the wires had been repositioned across one of the parts that got hot when you fired it up, and of course it melted the insulation and shorted it out and made smoke start coming out of the thing. So it was quickly which is why we have which is why we have backups.
No in my book, but anyway, that's
that's right. It caused quite a bit of comment from our fellow crew members when they, am I smelling smoke? Am I smelling smoke? What's that smoke from? So that was it.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's a really good story to tell, and it actually really lends to the fact that you can't just simply replace equipment. Oh yes, you possibly could if you had a couple of hours drive away from the location to the MDRS to obviously a store or something like that. But how far away is the MDRS actually from a store, by the way? Just for geographically inept like myself.
Well, the nearest, well, I guess we'd call it a village, is about 9 kilometers away, and the nearest larger town would be about an hour and a half away from where we are here.
Yeah, so it's quite a substantial distance. Not the same as Mars, but still quite a substantial distance.
Yes, that's right, and we have to be self-sufficient, as you say. And if things fail, then we just put it down to the fact that the supply rocket crashed on landing, so we don't have access to that material.
Which is actually a very real scenario when you think about this and extrapolate it all out. So my next question would be, how does research at the MDRS apply to Earth, if at all?
Well, it can. Mostly it's applied, the research that we do here is directed towards Mars, what we would do when we got to Mars, how we would conduct ourselves there whilst we're in spacesuits and driving around in rovers. But what we find that we can do here, when we fine-tune that here, then we can actually send that back to Earth and fine-tune what we do on Earth to what we've found that we've done in a Mars simulation, and that makes it more efficient to work on Earth. And in fact, we can take things to third world countries or countries that are experiencing droughts or floods and things like that, and do things there that we may have done before, but we can do more efficiently now that we've tried to do those things here as if we would be on Mars. So there is some feedback for Earth, but mostly it's about what we do on Earth, how we can adapt that to what we want to do on Mars.
Okay, excellent. So what is the expedition of Crew 291? What do you guys hope to learn out of this particular expedition? What's some of the key takeaways?
Well, what we're doing here as the geologist, we're looking for the locations of minerals that have been identified here. And perhaps utilize them for some of their experiments. So that's on the geological side of things. We also have here some engineering projects that we want to work on. So the sensor that I was trying to get working, that isn't quite working, we wish to look at the temperature and the humidity, the amount of dustiness in the atmosphere, the altitude, the barometric altitude based on the digital sensors, because we have that on an analog sensor, and we need to know the what function we need to apply to that, a constant, to bring that in line with the analog measurement. So that was another reason that we wanted to bring the sensor here. Also to measure the incoming radiation in terms of sunlight. So how much UV is actually coming down and what wavelength that is, how much infrared is being received as well. Also, because it's cold here at the moment, to test the ruggedness of the equipment as well, because it goes through, they've been having some -10s Celsius here at the time. So we wanted to check that our equipment can handle that at the time. So you seem...
Yep, you've disappeared. Oh. Yes, you can tell this is live. My guest has managed to disappear. Absolutely, completely. He's disappeared from the stream altogether. So this is going to be fantastic. I'll give Andrew a few seconds to see if he comes back. I'm just looking to see whether or not he's come back. Yes, he's come back. Just give me 2 seconds, people. I apologize. You can tell this is completely live because look, he's even back. Oh, good. Welcome. You disappeared, and I went,
should I say?
No, what have I done?
Hello.
Oh, live long and prosper, sir.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, I love this. This is why I do live streams. It just, it's fly by the seat of your pants kind of stuff. And then your guest who you've brought in is like all of a sudden just presses a wrong. This is the first time this has happened, by the way. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to experience what that actually feels like. There's a moment of going, ah!
I won't say it was aliens, but it was aliens.
Yes, absolutely understand. Absolutely understand. All right, so thank you very much for that very interesting segue. So, all right, so I have another question in regard to you is that, you guys are there for 2 weeks. What sort of impacts does this have on you guys being so closely confined with each other? What kind of impacts does it have on the human mind with being that close to that many people for the duration of the expedition?
Okay. We only met prior to this online. We've only been having meetings with internet meetings. At the moment, where we were from, I'm from Queensland. There's one from New South Wales. There are 2 from Western Australia. There's one from the ACT, and the final member is currently in Boston in the United States. So we've had to coordinate time zones and hours and days so that we could meet for half an hour to an hour at a time. So it was only when we all arrived at the jumping off point in Grand Junction that we got to meet each other for the very first time. So we did not have an inkling of what people were really like. We didn't even know how tall they were. So for people that really want to work on Mars and come to these simulated habitats, then with that same mindset, then we tend to get along quite well with each other. And this is the 5th crew that I've worked with, and it's been the same for all the crews. Everybody is, really wanting to be here, really wanting to work well with everybody else, really wanting to make their programs and their projects a success. And so to do that for them, then they have to help other people get their projects up and running and be successful. So we're supporting each other all the time in everything, and humor helps. Like
I can imagine. Look, you've done this before. I'm going to ask a cheeky little question here. You've done this before. You know what this is like. Do you, with being so closely confined with each other, and it's just a very small space we're talking about here. It's not exactly very large. Do you find that you get to know everybody's ins and outs and intimacies really, really quickly on a hyper compressed timeline than what you normally would?
Yes, that is the case, but you don't really get into people's heads in the first few days. I mean, you very quickly see what people are used to in terms of getting up in the morning and what they want to have for breakfast, and you adapt almost as instantaneously, because if we're here for 2 weeks and we have to get along with each other, then you do that. You make adaptations, and if people like to have really strong coffee or really weak coffee, or not even coffee at all, then from the very get-go you make those adjustments. So I'm not sure whether you can learn that, but people sort of adapt to that straight away. And with all the crews, that's been the case. So that you don't know that you have to do that, but you do that anyway as soon as you meet the other people and work out their likes and dislikes and distractions and focus points and things like that. So it's a very rapid process of adaptation, and it's quite enjoyable too, learning about what other people do and how they've progressed to where they are right at this moment, now that we're here in the HAD.
Wow. That'd be really, really interesting. For me, that would be really interesting subtleties of human expression and all that sort of stuff as well. Yeah, because all of a sudden you've got a random group of strangers who are all in the same scenario, all doing the same thing. Now, that actually brings me to this other question I have, which is a burning one, is given the timeframes involved to Mars, the isolation, the small habitats, all that sort of stuff, yes, there will need to be a habitat and everything established on Mars well before anybody gets there. And then there is with Starship and the return system and all that sort of stuff there that is going to be done by SpaceX. Almost got it wrong. So with SpaceX, given that time frame involved in going to Mars, would you still go?
Oh yes, absolutely, in a heartbeat. And in fact, all the crews that I've worked with, if you asked all 30 of the people that I've worked with, they would put their hand up and say, "Pick me right now. In a second, I'm there. I'm going." So I don't know. It seems to be a mindset of the people who come to these habitats to carry out their research, that they would say exactly that. "Pick me. I'm at the head of the queue. I'll be there." So yes, and that's what it is. And if you asked me that and you were able to send me, then I would say sure. When do we leave?
So, when do we leave?
Yeah.
So do you guys get a suit or something that goes as well? So like I just want to think about the logistics and all that sort of stuff as well. Now that I know that you're going to go and you're definitely on the NDRS and MDRS, let me just pronounce that correctly. On the MDRS, do you have a crew suit and everything that goes with it? I mean, obviously there is a logo or a mission patch that goes with it. Do you get a crew suit?
Yes, that's part of the fun bits that we do. We do suits that we have there, as well as that we have our mission patch that I'm trying to see there. And as you can see, it's this is the third expedition boomerang that we've brought here,
Right.
and it's where with our crew name on it. So
Yeah, just
we
want to
don't
bring that up
actually
again
have
so we
the.
can get a really clear view of that. Sorry, apologise. I should have probably switched to that a
Okay.
lot sooner so that way everyone could see it rather than trying to see half of my face. There we go. Hold it out a little,
Okay.
just a little, back towards you. That's it. Perfect.
All
Okay,
right.
Expedition Boomerang. Nice. Nice.
Yes, because we intend returning.
That's always a good thing. So, I mean, what do you have a limit of how many personal effects and all that sort of stuff you can take with you to the MDRS, or is it just unlimited, or just however much you can carry?
It's all of those things. It's you pick what you need to come, but generally you try to keep it as light as possible so that and restricted as possible, because the 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 way we get here is restricted first with airline travel and then with the vehicle that we drive from the start off point to actually get to the site. So you tend to keep amount of clothes to a minimum, an amount of ancillary things like laptops and cameras and things to as light as possible and as minimal as possible, and all the food and the cutlery and the crockery and the cooking equipment is all here, so we don't have to bring that along with us. So
Okay.
as well, we have to then get our equipment that when we want to carry out experiments and things like that, we have to bring those along as well. So it's restricted on what you bring. It's but it's sort of unlimited on your choices of what you can bring here.
All right. Excellent. Good to know. Yeah, because as we all know, I'm planning to go. No, I'm not. I don't have any qualifications to go for something like this. So I just have to live my life vicariously through you and actually connecting you to the MDRS while you're there and doing live streams like this. All right. So we've had a question, believe it or not. It comes from Alan Reynolds. So g'day, Alan. Welcome to Igniting the Space Down Under on Australia Day. So thank you very much for joining us. So Laurel O'Hara, the astronaut on the ISS at the moment, has mentioned that they finally have had a chance to smell vegetation. Ah, yes. In simulation, Alan brings up a really good point. In this environment, how restrictive is it? Are you using completely recirculated air systems? And does that include recirculated air systems like suits and things when you actually explore outside the habitat?
No, we're not. We're not recycling the air, and we're not recycling the water that we're using as well. So it's too difficult to do that at the moment with these uh, simulated habitats that are regularly used by different crews. So it's a closed habitat, and we have, as you saw with the outline or the outlay of the habitat, that was a graphic.
Ah, right.
Process of pressurization and depressurization. The other thing that's been found is that if you used a full spacesuit, then the weight of the life support on your back would be too heavy for you in Earth gravity to perform any useful task. So we have a simulated backpack and helmets that we use fans to circulate. The water is collected
Mm-hmm.
that we use, and it's removed from site after a certain amount of days, and the water for each simulation is placed in a 550 gallon tank outside, which I'm not quite sure what that 2,500 litre. I think that's what it comes to, that we have to use for the 2 weeks that we're here. And we manage our water use, and at the moment we're at roughly about 20 to 25 gallons, which is about 100 litres a day for the 6 of us here at the HAB. So it's not a fully enclosed system like some others have tried to do, but it allows us still to go through the processes of going in and out of airlocks, wearing spacesuits, and practice driving in rovers and things like that.
Right.
As to that question about the smelling vegetation, we do have a greenhouse, and we do grow vegetables. And at we're looking forward to getting our tomatoes in a day or two time.
2 tomatoes. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Well, it takes a while for the plants to grow because it's winter at the moment. So we try to keep the temperature up around the habitable level for tomatoes, which they enjoy, to help them grow. And they've been growing quite well. It's just that the fruiting hasn't quite happened at this stage. And we're looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So the other thing is that Alan Reynolds apparently knows you from the days in the National Space Society back in the 1990s.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yes.
There's a small little connection for you. So Alan actually definitely knows you, Andrew. So you may want to.
Yes, I certainly do remember to Alan. Hello, Alan.
That's awesome. I love how the Igniting the Space Down Under live streams brings everyone together from all walks of life, including people who used to know each other from the 1990s. That's awesome.
Yes, that was the Queensland Space Frontier Society, to give in a plug for that. So.
Frontier Space Society. All right. Yes, there's nothing like a free plug, because I do that all the time. So, all right. So it comes to the point where out of the questions that we had, there is only one. So congratulations, Alan. You've won that particular round. There doesn't seem to be too many other people on the live stream at the moment, and the reason that would be it's a public holiday in Australia. Nobody's gotten up yet. They'll probably be getting up around about now to prepare all their barbecues and all that sort of stuff. In terms of Australia Day, that actually brings me to one other question. In terms of Australia Day, mate, how are you going to celebrate that? It's not Australia Day where Commander Wheeler is at the moment. When it is tomorrow in about, I think it's 18 hours time, how are you going to celebrate personally?
Well, we have Vegemite here, so that is going to feature prominently. We have our little flag, and we're contemplating Anzac biscuits and scones to make as well. So that's about all we can do at the moment. But we have our flag next to the Mars flag, and that's prominently displayed on the dining room table.
That's
so
awesome.
if you have a moment,
absolutely, go for it.
Here
we go. We're going for a tour. Prepare yourself, people. I'll just put you on widescreen.
So this is inside the HAB, and this is everybody. This is the crew.
Hello, crew.
Finished making dinner, and I'm not sure whether you can see that the flag is there with the Mars flag on the center of the table.
Not quite.
Oh,
there it is. Yay, Aussie.
Oi, 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 that's it. So.
For anybody who's watching internationally, they need to understand it. Anytime you want to get a group of Aussies together and you go Aussie, the normal response is oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, that's it. All right. So that's the crew that ignore me when I give them orders. No, they're very good crew. They're exceptional crew, and in terms of what they're doing here. So they make it a joy to be here at the MDRS.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, look, Andrew, thank you very much for all of that. That is absolutely magnificent, and thanks very much for joining me. It's been absolutely awesome. I've enjoyed every single second of this live stream with you. It has been absolute pleasure talking to you. So hopefully you got something out of it as well.
Yes, I have.
good. That's always good. Rather than just me rambling on and asking silly questions. All right, so guys, if you want to know more about Andrew and find out more information about anything about the MDRS expedition crew, I've placed links in the description below to everything. I've also placed links in the description below as well about the Mars Society Australia and links how to become a member, because yes, you join up and become a member and you get one of these cool polo tops, which Andrew and I are currently wearing. So the Mars Society Australia is part of a larger Mars Society internationally, which is the world's largest and most influential space advocacy organization dedicated to the human exploration and settlement of the planet Mars. And yes, believe it or not, Elon Musk is a member of the Mars Society. Have you ever met him, by the way?
No, I haven't, but he has provided the observatory that's here being used at MDRS, both the solar observatory and the nighttime telescopes. He has also provided a whole bank of solar panels and a battery bank that we use during the day to take the pressure off the generator that we need to run at night because of the temperature outside. So we need to have a generator running to run the heaters to keep particularly the greenhouse, to keep that at a constant temperature so that we can get tomatoes later on.
And it's always nice to have a really good patron like that, such as Elon Musk, who's able to
absolutely
fund this type of things from the many companies and organizations that he has running for him. So that's fantastic. All right. Well, thank you once again, Andrew. So I'll just leave you here from this point. So thank you very much, everyone, for actually watching this live stream of, whoops, hang on, what have I done? I managed to botch that up. So thank you very much for laughing me at the background, Andrew. That was fantastic. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this live stream, you guys absolutely know what you need to do. You need to like, subscribe, and share this as far and wide as possible. And while you're on the channel, please check out the other interviews that I've conducted in terms of the wider Australian space industry. So thanks very much for watching Igniting the Space Down Under. And remember, as always,